Which people are concerned with self-esteem, self-confidence. People go to therapists to build up their self-esteem because it's not high enough. But once you touch that level of consciousness within yourself, self-esteem comes from there.
Across the world, and very few people are on a path to mastery. You don't have to be there, and that just goes to belief, because fundamentally your daily behavior reveals your deepest beliefs.
Winning wants you to write your own story, because only you can tell your story the way winning is going to understand it. You have too many individuals out there that are not writing their own story. They're letting other people write those stories for them. The way your true self is going to be, acknowledge it to everybody else and say, listen, I may not agree with everything that you've done, and I don't expect people to do. There's not a single successful person that I know where everybody's going to agree with 100% of their decisions, but you have to respect that individual for doing things that they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it, and their ability to win over and over again.
If you're smart and you can use a computer, you are so much smarter than you are if you're just smart that it's not even funny. You know, and you talk to people, you see this in Silicon Valley all the time, you talk to people who are expert computer users, they are so bloody powerful, it is just beyond belief.
And for me, when you look at God's plan, sometimes He answers our desires of our heart, and sometimes He does not. People understand that for everyone that is born, we also one day die. Why? Because God's plan is that as beautiful life can sometimes get, heaven awaits us. And when we're citizens of heaven passing through, we know the truth of three things: the truth of your value, the truth of your purpose, and the truth in the plan that God has for you, and joy waiting for you in heaven.
As you go to a professional who runs a mutual fund, what do? They figure out a series of investments to make, they put it in the fund, and they do it for you. And you think, well, gosh, you know, they're smarter than I am, they'll do well. You assume that, but the truth is they charge so much that even if they did have an advantage, they lose it. I interviewed David Swenson, who's the head of Chief Investment Officer at Yale. It took Yale 200 years to get $1 billion that they saved. He turned it into $25 billion.
Bitcoin's the end of the chain, not the start of the chain. Object is to get to gold, silver, Bitcoin. In the process, you know, like the Green New Deal, I just invested with Marin Katusa in carbon credits. I have no idea what a carbon credit is, but I only put up a few bucks. I've already made a couple of million. And so I'm getting smarter because now I'm interested. Well, how did I make money?
And the sad thing is, most people on the planet today have been sold a series of lies that the icons are cut from a different cloth. And because of that self-identity, their daily behavior matches their self-identity, and they're not doing the work required to be masterful in their professional lives and their personal lives, because they say, what would be the point?
In science, the research, by playing more, actually creates neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. What's neurogenesis? New growth, new brain cells. How many people like the idea of creating more new brain cells? What about neuroplasticity? What does that mean? More connections. So intelligence, in a way, is not necessarily, like Einstein didn't have a bigger brain than anyone here. Probably, it was actually less. He had a smaller brain. But in certain areas of his brain, he had highly connectedness. He did these thought experiments where he would put himself in these brainwave states, specifically theta state.
This is a very ancient and very simple method. By becoming aware that you are breathing, you're becoming, I call it, it's a mini meditation, one conscious breath, which is the in-breath, and you follow the breath with your attention. You feel it, the air moving into the body. You might even feel it even into your abdomen, the energy. And then you breathe out. And what does that do? Why is it so important? When you're aware of your breathing, you take attention away from thinking.
For most people, when the stakes are low, you're pretty tolerant to uncomfort, to ambiguity, to uncertainty, because there's really not much on the line. You know, and that's why I think it's a lot easier, even if you're a little bit more anxious around it, it's a lot easier to make those calls when you're younger, because for the most part, the stakes are lower for most people, and it's much more recoverable.
Subscribe now.